Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Marine One. Thought I'd do a little run through on the events past couple days that I had. Underneath the sump on the refugium, I had a Kessel H380, and the fan, I believe, is burning out, or it's got a bad bearing or something like that, making a horrible racket. The light will only run for about 10 minutes before it shuts off. I mean, the light looks brand new, but it's been sitting in that humid environment down there for about 9 months. But luckily, it's under warranty, so Kessel's going to send me a replacement, and I sent my old one back, so that's kind of cool. So in the meantime, I do have a little backup Chinese black box. I've ran this before. It will grow Chaeto, but I mean, it's not ideal. I'm a real big fan of the Kessel H380 for this, but other than that, that was a good catch. I actually caught it by looking at my power consumption, and I did notice that it would only turn on for about 10 minutes and then turn off. So it's supposed to be on for like 14 hours, so that's kind of an issue. But they're shipping that light out today, so I should have it by early next week, which is that's good. So I don't want any fluctuations in nitrate like I had before, so that could have been a real disaster if I didn't catch that, especially if I went on vacation or something and didn't notice it. But it was a good find on that. I did move some coral around. I freed up this giant space right here. My huge colony of GSP was there, so it's now over in this corner. And I also moved my elegance over here. So my plans for this spot, this is about an 18-inch spot right here. I have about 40 pounds of rock curing, and I'm gonna do like a little rock structure right here, like an island, and I'm still debating what I want to put on it. I'm almost thinking of maybe doing like some mushrooms or like some zoanthids or some acans. Like, I don't have any acans in this tank, so I'm kind of leaning in that direction. It was either that or I was gonna do like a monicap or a monopora like rock, all different kinds of monopora. I think that'd be cool. So I've had the rock curing for 2 weeks. I'm gonna let it go for about another 3 weeks, so like mid-July, before I put that in the tank, because I want to make sure it's fully cured. And then I'm only gonna use maybe about 10-15 pounds right here. So the rest is gonna go in my sump, because I did remove all that marine pure bioblock because it was leaching those elements into my tank. So I just want a little additional rock in there for bacteria to colonize. But on another note, if you're not familiar with my fish selection, I do have 6 tangs in this tank, and I've always had very good success with keeping a large large amount of tanks in my tanks. So I kind of wanted to go over like some of that today. As far as like aggression levels, it's pretty much to a minimum. Once in a while, there'll be a little bit of a batting tails, or someone will chase someone, but it doesn't lead to anything else. But when tangs are introduced, I'm a firm believer of you got to take in consideration their size, their aggression levels, and their feeding habits. I took a risk, and the biggest risk, the wild card, is that guy right there, that clown tang. That is the most aggressive tang species you can get your hands on. She is behaving, but I might run into an issue down the road as she grows. She's already chased my blue tang a few times, which is kind of concerning because my blue tang is 3 times the size. So she's not afraid to show her stuff. But other than that, the most aggressive is definitely that clown tang. I would say number 2 in aggression would probably be my blue tang or my yellow tang. They're classified in the semi-aggressive category, but as far as tangs go, they're one of the more territorial and aggressive fish. And then moving on down the ladder, I would probably put my sailfin. My sailfin's never had a bad temper. He just cruises around. He really doesn't care. Like if I drop a new fish in there, doesn't care. Like my last tang that I put in here was this blonde naso tang. This is about an 8-inch blonde naso tang, and he didn't care at all. So I classify them around semi-aggressive. And then moving on down, I would say my yellow eye coal tang. I would say more the peaceful. They're one of the more peaceful tangs. They're just going to cruise on the rock like she's doing right now. And they're not that territorial. Their feeding habits, they're not that aggressive when they eat. She'll just go on the rocks, just pick your rocks and pick your glass all day long. So it's a really good algae fish. And very, very striking looking fish. And then I would classify my blonde naso is probably the least aggressive out of all my tangs. She just doesn't care. Like she just goes with the flow. She's the biggest fish in there, which is important because you really don't want a huge dominant aggressive fish in there because it's probably going to kill your other ones. So she is very, very peaceful. I've never seen her go after any of the other tangs. The only issue with nasos, especially if they're larger, is their feeding habits. I've struggled to get her to eat pellets, live foods, frozen foods. She pounds down nori like it's cool, but I have got her to eat some pellets after I soak them, but they are one of the more difficult eaters, and I think that's due to her size. But I'm just going to keep an eye, especially on that clown tang, because as she gets bigger, I think it's going to cause some problems. So maybe down the road she might have to go. But other than that, everybody's doing good. They are well fed. So I go through 3 full sheets of nori a day at minimum, and that's with feeding pellets, P. mysis pellets. Sometimes I feed pellets one day, I'll feed frozen food another day. I have chopped up nori. So they get a variety of food, but they just pound down the food. So all the more important to get that Kissel H380 fixed, because my refugium is a huge part of my nutrient export method, along with my protein skimmer. But as far as the nitrates go, that's the main part. So I really don't do water changes on this tank. But yeah, going forward, my new addition that I'm looking to do after I get this rock structure done is, in the past I've had eels, and I've had snowflake eels, and that's always been like my favorite thing in the tank. So I was kind of sitting around like the past week, just thinking what could I do to this thing to kind of make it pop, and I definitely want another eel, and I think it's going to be a zebra moray. But the only issue right now is trying to find one I want to find one that's going to be under 16 inches, just because I want it to grow into the tank, and they do get very large. So I don't want it to overload the bio load of the tank. Basically, I don't want to drop a 3-foot eel in there, and you know, it's pooping everywhere and it throws my whole chemistry in my tank off. So I do want a smaller one, start out with that. But if you're not familiar with zebra morays, they're the most peaceful eel you can buy in the aquarium hobby pretty much. The only downside is they do get very large. They can get up to 5 feet long. So, but they they're not nocturnal like the other eels. They will come out at night, which is kind of cool. So, or they'll come out during the day rather, which is kind of cool. So, but yeah, before that happens, I want to get my rock structure done, and then I also want to make sure that I have all of my rocks secured and my coral secured, because with putting an eel in there, they're gonna knock things over and stuff like that. I don't want rocks falling over, cracking my glass or anything like that. So that's what's going on with the tank. And yeah, other than that, everything's going really good. So hopefully I have an update next week with whatever happens, and I will see you guys next time. Later.